Before we begin, viewer discretion is strongly advised. The following is for educational and entertainment purposes only. This is a verbatim federal courtroom testimony of the Sean Diddy Combs trial. As reported by Inner City Press, the courtroom was already tense when the doors opened, but no one expected the woman walking in, fragile yet fierce, nervous yet unafraid. It wasn't a lawyer, it wasn't an accuser. It was Britney Spears for the first time. Since her release from conservatorship, Britney took the stand not as a pop princess, but as a survivor. What she said about Diddy, about the night before the 2007 VMAs, about Lou Taylor and Robin Grenell sent shockwaves through the room. This wasn't just about music. This was about betrayal, manipulation, and an entire system built to destroy her. And Diddy didn't see it coming. Let's break down what Britney Spears revealed under oath and why the industry is panicking. The courtroom was already on edge. Prosecutors had hinted all week that a surprise witness might step forward, but no one expected her when the doors opened and Britney Spears walked into the room, her heels soft on the floor, her head low but steady. Even the judge took a moment to react. Diddy's legal team exchanged panicked glances. Sean Combs himself shifted in his seat, whispering something to his attorney, but Britney didn't look at him, not yet. She took her seat on the witness stand, her hands folded in her lap. This wasn't the glammed up pop star the world remembered. This was someone changed, older, wiser, and scarred. She cleared her throat and spoke into the microphone with a shaky but determined voice. I was told to stay quiet for most of my life. I was told it was my protection. But that wasn't true, and now I'm done being quiet. From the moment she spoke, the courtroom was silent. Even the buzzing of cell phones and reporters' laps stopped. Britney testified that she wasn't just another celebrity tangled in Diddy's circle. She was a victim of the same network, now being exposed in court. And the first moment it all started, she said, was the night before the 2007 MTV Video Music Awards. I went to a party thrown by Sean Combs. I was told it would be safe, just drinks, fun, a few other celebrities, but it wasn't safe. It changed my life. She said she hadn't planned to stay long. She wanted to perform well at the VMAs the next night. It was supposed to be her comeback, but that night, she says, someone handed her a glass of champagne. Diddy smiled, said, just one. You'll be fine. That was the last thing she remembered clearly from a night. She told the court that after drinking from that glass, things became hazy. The room started spinning. My thoughts slowed down. I remember lights, people laughing, and then nothing. The next morning she woke up disoriented, not hung over something else, something darker. Her body felt heavy. Her memory was patchy, but she had to perform anyway. She couldn't back out. Her team pushed her toward the stage, said, "The show must go on." As Britney spoke, jurors leaned in, visibly disturbed. Diddy didn't look up. I know now that night was a setup. It wasn't a party, it was a trap. And that glass, it was the beginning of everything. As Britney continued her testimony, she detailed what happened at Diddy's Las Vegas party. That night, a gathering she now believed was carefully orchestrated to humiliate her and derail her career. It wasn't just a party, it was calculated, Britney said. He had already chosen me as the next sacrifice, and I didn't even know it. She described the setting, pure nightclub, Caesar's Palace, dozens of cameras flashing, celebrities drinking, Cassie celebrating her 21st birthday in the VIP area. And then there was Diddy moving through the crowd like a host in total control. She recalled that he was oddly attentive, too attentive. He kept watching me, kept offering me drinks, told the crowd to respect her. When he got on the MIC, it felt like a show, like I was being paraded around. According to Britney, Diddy wasn't the only person pressuring her. That night, several people from the industry were in attendance. People she'd later learn had ties to TriStar, the same firm that would go on to help orchestrate her conservatorship. Among them, Robin Grenell. Robin, Britney explained, was always in the background during these parties, silent, observing. And now she was named in Lil Rod's lawsuit as a person who handled Diddy's payments to workers tied to his sex trafficking accusations, Britney told the jury she didn't know Robin's name at the time, but she remembered her face because Robin was the one who ushered her into a VIP lounge with Diddy right before everything went dark. I trusted them, Britney said. I didn't think I was in danger, but I wasn't protected that night. I was set up, she said. After one glass of champagne, she began to feel not drunk, just disconnected. Her vision blurred, her thoughts slowed, her balance, when she remembered hearing someone say, "She's done." And then laughter. That was when she woke the next morning. She said she felt like something had been done to her, but everyone around her insisted she was fine. No one listened to me. They said I was being dramatic, but I knew something was wrong. I still know Britney told the jury that looking back she believes this was part of a larger plan, a humiliation ritual meant to break her down and pave the way for what came next, and Diddy was at the center of it when Britney got to the VMAs that Sunday. She said she still wasn't fully recovered from what happened the night before. I was dizzy, unsteady, I wasn't myself. She testified that her team insisted the show had to go on, that millions were watching, and she needed to smile, dance, and pretend nothing was wrong, but I wasn't okay, and they knew it. She recalled being rushed into makeup and wardrobe where everything went wrong. The stylist handed her a costume. She didn't recognize the glittery bra and black shorts outfit that would later be marked across tabloids. She'd requested a different costume. They gave her that instead. I remember saying, "This doesn't fit," and someone said, "Just wear it, you're fine." She was pushed on stage, the music started, the lights hit, and Britney, she stood there frozen. I was trying to dance, trying to keep up, but I was so out of it I could barely move. The performance supposed to be her comeback turned into a train wreck, but Britney told the jury that it wasn't just a bad night, it was engineered. They made sure I failed. And Diddy, he watched from the crowd, smiling. She said she remembered seeing him sitting there looking calm and bothered, not surprised at all. I remember that look. It wasn't confusion, it was satisfaction. And then it started, the media frenzy, the headlines, a breakdown narrative, the calls of rehab, the custody battles, the conservatorship. They humiliated me on purpose, broke me in front of the world, and then used that to lock me away. She ended this part of her testimony by looking directly at Diddy. "You started this, and now I'm ending it." Britney's voice trembled, but remained clear as she transitioned into the next part of her testimony. She stopped speaking as a performer and started speaking like survivor. I didn't fall apart. She said, "They took me apart piece by piece." The courtroom leaned in as she named names: Lou Taylor, Robin Grenell, TriStar Entertainment, words that had haunted Britney's story for years, now finally said under oath. And the moment she said them, Diddy's lawyers stiffened. They knew what was coming. Britney recounted how after the 2007 VMAs, her phone began blowing up, not with sympathy, not with support, but with demands. Her father, Jamie, a man named Larry, and a woman she barely knew at the time, Lou Taylor. They said I was spiraling, that I needed structure. They were already talking about taking control of my estate. And it was only weeks after that night, she testified, that Lou Taylor's voice was always calm, too calm. She didn't sound like someone who wanted to help. She sounded like someone who'd been waiting. Then came the appointments, the psychiatric evaluations, the rehab facilities she didn't remember agreeing to, and through it all, Lou and Robin were always hovering. According to Britney, these weren't wellness efforts. They were rehearsals, a dry run for something far more sinister. They were setting up a conservatorship before I even knew it was a word, she said. And then came a moment that turned the courtroom cold. I found out Lou Taylor had once worked with Shaw Combs. They came up through the same label, Uptown Records. That's how they knew each other. That's how they moved. She pulled out a photo, a framed screenshot from the Hollywood Reporter article that confirmed their professional connection. I didn't just end up with the same team that destroyed my freedom. I was handed to them. Britney stated under oath that she believed Diddy and Lou Taylor had already spoken in the days following the VMAs, that her breakdown was a justification. The team needed to push the conservatorship into motion. They said I was too emotional, but they were the ones pulling the strings behind every one of those emotions. And Robin Grenell, Britney said she was Lou's shadow, the one who did the dirty work, including she testified approving wire transfers from Diddy's account to women in his entertainment network. She quoted from Lil Rod's lawsuit. "They called her an accountant. I call her a handler." As Britney continued, she turned her attention to the facilities, the so-called treatment centers that she claimed were part of the machinery Lou Taylor and her father used to break her down. "They said I needed help, but all they did was drug me until I couldn't speak." She described being forced into a facility in the Caribbean, then shipped to Malibu, then sent home with strict medication regimen she didn't consent to. "I wasn't drinking, I wasn't partying, I was surviving, and they treated me like a criminal." Britney testified that during this time she had little control over her money, her medication, or her movement, and the only consistent visitors she saw were representatives from TriStar and attorneys hired by her father, all orchestrated under Lou Taylor's network. Then came the most Disturbing revelation. Britney said that one of the medications she was placed on without explanation caused severe memory loss. I couldn't remember what day it was. I'd stare at the wall for hours, and when I asked why they were doing this to me, they told me I signed off on it. But she told the jury that one day she was handed a form with Trista's logo and a blank signature line. They said it was for my safety. I remember shaking. I was so scared I didn't want to lose my kid, she signed. The next day, the conservatorship began. Britney paused, fighting back tears. I wasn't protected. I was in prison. She alleged that Lou Taylor funneled hundreds of thousands of dollars from her estate into account controlled by TriStar, and that Diddy's financial advisor was CC'd on multiple communications. Ask yourself why my money was connected to the man who gave me that drink. She explained that each time she tried to push back by missing a dose, by refusing a photo shoot, or by asking to go outside, she was punished. More meds, more restrictions. And Diddy, she said, he was kept updated. He was watching the show. He started from a distance, and he didn't lift a finger to stop it. Britney's voice grew more quiet, but every word struck like thunder. I didn't just lose control of my life. She said, I lost control of my image, my body, my privacy. Britney testified that Robin Grenell and Lou Taylor had total access to her phone, her home, and her schedule. But it wasn't just oversight, it was surveillance. They had cameras in every room, even in my bedroom. I wasn't allowed to shut the door. She said that messages between her and her children were monitored, even her Google searches. If I looked up my own name too many times, they'd lock the iPad. She revealed that black box security hired by her father was instructed to work directly with TriStar and that Robin Grenell created mirrored iCloud accounts to track everything she did. She said she learned this from former employee Alex VLOV, who risked his own safety to tell the truth. Then came a chilling line. They didn't just track me, they recorded me. The courtroom froze. I asked to see the tapes. They said they were for safety. But I know what they were doing. They were collecting proof of my weakness so they could keep me quiet. She claimed one of the tapes included footage from the VMA's rehearsal, where she broke down and said, I can't do this, something's wrong with me. That footage, she says, was shown to her own legal team as evidence she was unstable. And that night, the party with Diddy, I asked if there was security footage. I was told it didn't exist, but now I believe it does. I believe it was saved. Maybe even you. She looked straight at Diddy. You said you were trying to help, but I was the one who got locked in a room. I was the one who lost 14 years of my life. Then she turned to the jury. I know what people think, that I was out of control, that I needed help, but that's because they only saw what they were shown. They saw the clips, the meltdowns, the memes, but none of that was me. That was what they did to me. And with that, Britney closed the binder in front of her, but it was clear she was just getting started. Britney's tone changed as she stepped into the darkest chapter of her story. The courtroom lights seemed dimmer as she described the night. She believes they took everything, her freedom, her reputation, her voice, and it all tied back to that moment at Pure nightclub. You know what's worse than losing your mind? She said, being told you did when you know someone else caused it. Britney described waking up the morning of September 9th, 2007, just hours before the VMAs, with her entire body trembling. Her coordination was off, her muscles weak, her memory fragmented. I wasn't hungover, she told the court. I was tampered with. She testified that after the performance, where she was mocked relentlessly by the press, she was rushed back to her hotel. That's when Lou Taylor called her directly for the first time. You need structure. Britney remembered her saying, we can help you. Lou then allegedly offered to arrange treatment and media damage control, but there were strings attached. Within a week, Britney said her legal document began changing. Power of attorney started shifting, and suddenly people she never hired were managing her medical and financial decisions. Then came a crucial revelation. Britney claimed that she later learned Diddy had called Lou Taylor directly after the VMAs. He told her, I was too far gone. He said the public saw what they needed to see. Britney paused, swallowing hard. That's how fast it happened. One night, one performance, and suddenly I didn't own my life anymore. She then testified that the same night someone had tried to contact her, someone from the venue staff who allegedly witnessed her collapse backstage and tried to report it, but they never got through. I was told later that Diddy had connections with every major media outlet that covered the VMAs that year. That's why the narrative shifted so fast. From she had a bad night to she's out of control. That narrative justified everything they did next. Her voice rose slightly. I didn't break down. I was taken down. The room remained still. Stunned jurors blinked slowly. Some visibly emotional Britney leaned forward, her hand steady for the first time. And Diddy wasn't just a guest at the VMAs, he was the architect. The courtroom sat frozen as Britney revealed a piece of evidence no one expected. I was told for years that no video existed of that night, she began, but they lied and I saw it. She testified that during her final months under the conservatorship, a former TriStar employee contacted her anonymously. They claimed to have seen raw, uncut security footage from the night of September 8th. 2007, the night she attended Diddy's party at Pure nightclub. The footage, according to the source, was never released, never mentioned in any investigation, and never logged by hotel security because it didn't go through hotel security. Britney said it went straight to Diddy. She testified that in the footage, she could be seen dancing, briefly drinking from a flute handed to her by a man in a gray suit. She